Most businesses in the world have thrived on performance marketing for a long time, but the cost of entry into search and social has gotten so low that there's just a lot more competition, and everybody has been feeling the cost of those channels driving up.
These emerging brands are so focused on performance and on conversion that they forget to build the additional audience, and then they're just fishing out of the same pond over and over and over again. Today on the show, I have Matt Behrend. He's the CEO of Agility.
We exist to help mid-market companies manage the advertising stack. Sounds boring and undifferentiated. What we focus on is solving the problem of measurement and targeting in brand advertising. 5% of your addressable market is in market, actively trying to buy right now. And everybody in performance marketing is fighting for that 5%.
Hey everyone, I'm Michael Maher, the host of The Longer Game, a podcast that talks all about the future of retail. Brick and mortar, direct-to-consumer, Amazon. If it's driving retail forward, we talk about it here on the show. Make sure to subscribe to catch every episode on LinkedIn, YouTube, Spotify, and Apple Podcasts, or wherever you get your podcasts. And before we dive in, I just want to say thank you. Every listen, every share, all of those conversations, they mean a lot to us and they help us get our message heard. Retail is evolving very quickly. You've been along for the ride, and I appreciate you for being here. All right, let's get into it. Hello, everybody. Welcome to The Longer Game. We are deeper into season 4 now, which is kind of crazy to even think about. I didn't even want to start a podcast before I did this, but I had someone give me great advice, which was, if you can do it better, why would you not do it? That still remains to be seen. However, we like to talk about retail, future of retail here on this podcast, and we bring on all kinds of people to help us to decipher what that actually means. I believe that the future of retail is just being omni-channel, but that goes way beyond just being multi-channel, and there's a lot of factors that are at play there. People in retail, people that are digital, all that stuff. Today on the show, I have Matt Behrend. He's the CEO of Agility. I'm going to let him tell you a little bit about what he does. So welcome, Matt. Good to have you.
Yeah, thank you. Excited to talk today. So yeah, Matt Behrend from Agility. We exist to help mid-market companies manage the advertising stack. Sounds boring and undifferentiated. What we focus on is solving the problem of measurement and targeting. So in brand advertising. So companies that struggle to make the jump from performance marketing and wrapping brand into it and measuring across channels and controlling audiences across channels. Yeah, those are the things that we focus on. But yeah, deep in the brand advertising world and loving it. It's an incredibly exciting time for it.
When you talk about brand versus performance, can you just break that down a little bit more about how you view that, maybe how brands should be looking at it? From my perspective on Amazon, we often talk about brand versus non-brand. And in my world, non-brand is all the stuff that just does not include your brand name, because people are often searching for a generic thing like men's shirt versus Unreal or Dakine. And maybe they are searching the brand as well too. Maybe this podcast will eventually be featured or sponsored by Dakine and Unreal. We'll see what happens when the episode goes live. Yeah. We're always open to sponsorships, but when I think about non-brand, I'm thinking about all the things that are generic that you want to win on so that you can bring people back to build brand awareness and then see your brand searches go up. And a lot of times people advertise on brand only, and it's traffic that they're already going to win. But that's like an Amazon perspective. What do you, when you think about brand versus performance marketing, how do you view that?
Yeah, great question. We have this conversation constantly. The world is really in a kind of transitional period right now around this. Most businesses in the world have thrived on performance marketing for a long time, but the cost of entry, right, into search and social has gotten so low that there's just a lot more competition, and everybody has been feeling the cost of those channels driving up. So when we talk about brand advertising, we're talking about creating new buyers. We think about performance marketing typically in search and social. It's channels that you expect a click, right? You expect a conversion directly. A lot of companies will look at their performance marketing and think about a conversion, tenure of 7 days or less. On the high end, 30 days, which magically happens to coincide with most companies' cookie policies. So an interesting insight there. But when we talk about brand advertising, we're talking about creating new buyers that aren't category aware, aren't brand aware, and definitely aren't product aware. Or they might have some awareness of those things, but they're not purchasing or not purchasing frequently enough. A couple of interesting insights. There's brand advertising has been proven now to be most effective when it's full funnel. So when somebody is experiencing performance marketing ads that offer a promotion of some kind, or are incentivizing them to click, and in other places in their digital time or digital attention, they're experiencing brand advertisements that are more emotional based. They tell a story. It helps people to feel connected to the brand, build that affinity, right? That word that we love to use, that we all love to use, but it doesn't mean a whole lot in our measurement.
Sometimes you just
When
feel
you're
like
doing,
you're talking with someone
yeah,
and you're using all the words, and you're just like, man, there's a lot of jargon in here. Like I hear that in my own head, and I'm like,
yeah,
ROAS and ACOS and or search equity and all this stuff, and I'm like, man, you really sound like a tool.
yeah.
But the thing is,
It's so true.
it's those things are real. What I have learned is, how do I distill this down and just make it,
Mm,
how do I make it matter to the brand? Am I saying the thing that they need to know, or am I trying to wow them with my knowledge, or am I just naturally taking them on this litany of FAQs of jargon? Like, what really is applicable to them? And that gets me to think a little bit more. So I'm not saying you sound like a tool. I'm saying I feel like I do, because I'm like using all the terms, and then it's like, this word is starting to sound weird. I don't even know what it means anymore, which is, I think, where you're at with
yeah.
affinity.
I try not to say affinity a lot, but a lot of times that's a word that people have been told, at least by consultants, like you should care a lot about brand affinity. But the reality is, if I'm explaining this to a fifth grader, I'm saying, think about your own experience in reality. You buy emotionally and you justify logically. Buying emotionally comes from emotional storytelling and ads that help somebody connect personally and emotionally to a brand. I think every marketer believes that brand advertising is going to drive sales, but until now, it's been really, really difficult to justify it, because performance marketing measurement makes brand advertising look really bad. It just does.
If what? If you're focusing on things like ROAS and
Yes,
other
if you're
conversion based metrics.
yes, if you're focused on the short term. So it's one of those things, like companies, it's unfortunate, but CMOs are they have the highest turnover rate of any executive, right, in the C-suite. Their tenure on average is about 18 months in, like, companies with between 100 million and up. Tenure's pretty short for CMOs. So and it's unfortunately, at least from our research, we've found that it's because you bring a new CMO in, they cut spend, and all the numbers go up,
Yeah.
right? Because there's lasting effects from advertising that don't show up in typical performance marketing.
You know what I got to say,
Those
though?
last,
If I were going to
yeah,
be 18 months as a CMO, I think I could, at a $100 million plus company, I might be able to retire after doing that for 18 months
do
versus
that a
being an
couple times.
entrepreneur. Just saying, it might be worth it.
Yeah, well,
People see that
yeah,
on Amazon all the time, where you cut spend and immediately things look good, and then 30,
yeah,
60, 90 days later you start to notice the impact. And that's a rule in sales. Like, for any
yeah.
salesperson out there, I know I've read a lot of books. One of them that I read that was great was called Fanatical Prospecting by Jeb Blunt, and he says there's a a, a, a 30-day rule with a 90-day impact. You stop prospecting for 30 days, everything will seem okay, but 90 days down the road, your prospects are immediately going to dry up, and it's going to hurt. And then you're going to start to do things based on the universal law of need, which says, I believe this is correct, the more you want and need something, the like harder you hold on to and cling to it, and that actually can end up hurting you. So what you're
Yeah.
saying, I think, is a rule that is true across many different disciplines.
Yeah, it's a good point. The companies that are winning today in today's market are the ones that can effectively combine performance marketing and brand advertising. If you can do that effectively, you have a huge competitive advantage, because many companies cannot. The marketing teams just haven't figured out to report to the CFO anything that's acceptable other than efficiency metrics like ROAS and, other things like that.
If you look at
So it's an interesting time.
brand versus performance marketing from a consumer perspective, I would liken it to Coca-Cola ads. That's a brand ad. The trucks and the polar bear and all that stuff. All the stuff you see the Super Bowl. That's brand marketing or brand advertising. And then everything that you're seeing on Meta, Instagram, Facebook, whatever. That's more like performance marketing. Does that
Yep.
sound right?
Well, yes, I'll give a caveat. So
Okay.
yes, we have the same definition of performance marketing. It's basically search and social. It's stuff that's clickable. The content, the nature of it tends to be really promotional. Brand advertising, emotional storytelling, and it's typically through channels. You can do it for sure on Meta. You can obviously do it in some of Google's ecosystem, like display ads and YouTube and things like that. But typically, where companies are having a lot of success is on the open internet. So you're looking at CTV, OLV, streaming TV. Audio is actually, if done correctly, can perform really well. The big difference between what Coke is doing. So the biggest, best brands have always been able to leverage brand advertising effectively because they had large enough budgets to just flood every channel.
Isn't that amazing? What happens when you just got a bunch of cash that you can
It's amazing.
pump in? My accountant has wisely said like sales heals all, covers all wounds, which like up to a certain point, but like it does. Like, and if you've got more money, you can drive sales.
Fill the top of the funnel. Fill the freaking top of the funnel, right?
Yeah.
But so that you have a wise accountant. What those guys have done now in the last couple of years, technology has evolved enough that the way that the best brands have always done brand advertising is now accessible to pretty much any company. So what changed is you can now build hyper targeted audiences and advertise only to those audiences across channels. You can control frequency across channels. You're not wasting a lot of ad dollars to people that aren't your target customer. So you're like, if you're running TV ads, they're now only your target customer, the most likely people to buy, are going to see those ads. So even though the CPMs on CTV can look scary high, but they're incredibly effective and totally worth it. So the way that you described Coke in performance marketing, the difference is the way that Coke advertises that like powerful emotional storytelling that's everywhere all the time. You don't need that much frequency. You just don't need it. But now it can be controlled and precise. You can create that kind of experience just for your customers.
How do you do that?
So it's pretty cool. How do you do it?
Tell us the secret.
The secret? I mean, it's the technology exists now. So we integrated the channels. We integrated the data. So now you can take, like on Meta, for example, you can only use their audiences, right? What we've done is we've taken all these different data sources: behavioral, contextual, social, financial, purchase data, like specifically what purchase data from Target and Walmart and others. And we've merged all of that data and then layered AI onto it. So you can basically tell it, like, who are you trying to target, just completely qualitatively, and it will pull all of that together and say, okay, we're going to combine these data sources to create this audience. So you don't have to pick channels anymore. That's why brand advertising is accessible to everybody, because you used to have to make big bets on individual channels and then do it across enough channels that you got enough frequency to buy that mind share, right? If you're top of mind, they're not ready to buy yet, but if you stay top of mind, the theory is they'll buy once they're ready to buy. But that was too expensive for a lot of companies, justifiably. It wasn't just that they couldn't measure it, it actually was too expensive.
And so too now expensive because you also could not, the gestational period to actually get to the point where people are ready to convert for some brands could be a lot longer. If you're talking about a $300 jacket versus a $25 cell phone case, like those are very different timelines to actually convert and potential need. So like, yeah, maybe you could flood it for a certain period of time, but to get to that conversion, it was way too expensive and you just run out of cash, right?
Right.
Okay.
Exactly. Yeah. So definitely mattered on the product. Now you can say like, hey, here's my first party data. Give me an amazing lookalike audience that combines all the different audience data types, and then only advertise to those people across all these different channels. Like, I don't want to show ads to anybody else. So that's possible now. And the other thing that the technology can do now is used to be like you would buy on linear TV, for example, you would run a TV spot for a set period of time, and they're sort of giving you like vague answers about how many people you're reaching, et cetera.
It'll run between 1 and 6 a.m. and you'll reach anywhere from 1,000 to 250,000 people.
Yeah, exactly. Which is ridiculous, and only giant enterprises could afford to make bets like that, right?
And also, if you can afford to make a bet like that, why wouldn't you make a bet on a different time?
I know.
That's a very broad range, but still, I'm sure there's like just the bad spots that you don't want to be in, that you're like, okay, well, I guess I have to settle. But as you're saying this, I'm also thinking, yes, Meta is a performance marketing channel, but what if, and it sounds like this is what you're doing at Agility. By the way, that's Matt's company, so you guys should check out Agility. What is your URL? Tell people what your URL is.
Agilityads.com.
Okay.
Agilityads.com.
That's great. I am a avid URL shopper. Let's just put it that way. Not like that crazy, but I've got all my daughters, like her name and all that stuff. I've got that for her if she ever wants to. So I'm gonna sell it to her. If she doesn't, she's not gonna just get that for free. She's gonna have to buy that for me. I'll auction it off to her.
I love
Only
it.
teasing, maybe. We'll see.
Yeah.
I will buy URLs sometimes, and it's funny. Anything that's not a .com, my wife is like, I don't want to hear about it. Like, it's not real. It's not whatever. .co I think still works. .ai could work, but there is something to be said about a .com. So like agilityads.com, like that's kind of amazing that you guys got that.
Yeah, I mean, we are about 7 years old, and that doesn't seem like a lot of time, but yeah, I guess we got lucky. We've got a bunch of cool URLs that, I don't know what we'll do with them, but
yeah.
As a company, you just sort of like think it's like, oh, we might use that someday, and you go grab it.
Well, it's like
we've got
a lot of non-brand URLs. It's like you could run a marketing campaign. People don't think it's a brand advertisement because it's unbranded, and then it takes you to information about something. Like those are the URLs that you have.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah. We've got some of those. Precisionadvertising.com, bunch of variations of that. In fact, that is like if for people that's a great way to summarize what we do. It's precision brand advertising.
Okay. Yeah, because you're giving people attribution to a brand ad that normally you would not be able to have. And I think there's this juxtaposition that you and I have talked about before, just maybe not recorded, was what big brands versus small brands do well. Or maybe it's legacy versus emerging. And emerging could be past 10 years. Legacy to me is like, 50 or more years. Maybe it's publicly traded now. But you look at what they do well, and big brands do some things well and they do some things poorly. And these emerging brands do things well and they do things poorly. And the big brands, I think, are great at awareness because they've got the budgets. They understand brand really well. Not always the consumer, but they understand brand really well and how to create a cohesive brand and the psychology behind that. They've got R&D down. They've got supply chains down. What emerging brands, I think, do really well is they take on new channels. They can be quick to market. They don't have bureaucracy to get through all those decisions. And so they can start to win on Amazon or win on direct-to-consumer, whereas these other bigger brands are like, oh, digital, we'll get to that when we need to. And then it's like, now there's this brand that's doing $100 million and they're taking on one of our legacy brands and taking market share from us. But then these emerging brands are so focused on performance and on conversion that they forget to build the additional audience, and then they're just fishing out of the same pond over and over and over again. And there has to be somewhere in the middle, I think, that they...
Yeah, totally. It's that 95-5, right? 5% of your addressable market is in market, actively trying to buy right now. And everybody in performance marketing is fighting for that 5%. There's a massive number of potential buyers that was, and this is the whole point, right, is too expensive for small companies for sure. Mid-market companies, it was a lot of times prohibitively expensive. And so enterprises were the only ones that could access the broad market and create new buyers all the time. But like you alluded to a second ago, that's kind of the other really exciting thing about how technology in the advertising space has evolved recently. So now you can hyper-target across channels. That's what we talked about. The other thing is you can measure incrementality. You can prove it. So the way to do it is you run randomized control trials. When you launch brand advertising, like cross-channel, hyper-targeted brand advertising, you still run everything else. You can still make all the changes that you want to, keep optimizing, that's fine. The problem with anytime you launched a new channel, especially with these emerging companies like you're talking about, you'd launch it and then the measurement was really fuzzy. It's like, who's taking credit for this? Like, we got more impressions. How do we know what the, like, how
Meta's
much
taking credit for it. That's who's
Meta, yeah, and Google for sure. One of the more, yeah, anyway, there was a company that had a partnership with Google and they integrated into GA4, and it was, they primarily ran CTV. And so it was this big, exciting thing. Everyone thought it was going to be like, oh my gosh, we can finally like measure the exact impact, the incremental impact of CTV on through Google, our single source of truth. And it just fell apart because Google's like, no, we're taking credit. That's ours. So this whole credit thing,
yeah.
the only way to correct for it is a randomized control trial. So when you launch brand, you have to randomize a portion of the audience into a control group that receives no brand advertising. And it has to be randomized. It's not good enough to do geo holdout or other types of studies like that. If you randomize it, you control for all those different variables, what you're doing in your other advertising and things like that.
It's like creating a true
Yeah.
A/B experiment.
Yeah, true A/B. But the most rigorous way possible. This is the level of rigor in the data science that you would see in like a pharmaceutical study or something.
Okay. Yeah.
So you randomize that control group, then you've got your treatment group, and then because you did that, you can actually measure impact across every KPI. You can see lift you can see the lift in the treatment group versus control group in everything. And when you take that to the CFO, it's like, here you go. There's no art that the CFO is not like, well, that's not ROAS. That it makes sense to them because they can see things like our meta spend, our conversion rate in meta increased 2.5 times in the treatment group compared to the control group.
This sounds like a pharmaceutical study.
I know. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly. But when you're dealing with the level of complexity in the digital advertising stack today, 5 different channels and they don't talk to each other, pulling it all together is a nightmare. So
I know
we just pulled all the data into one platform and introduced some crazy, awesome, powerful data science and
did crazy data science, and we can actually show people incrementality, and we can help people to access brand advertising when they couldn't before. No big deal, guys.
No big deal.
There are companies I know who will utilize like iROAS. Like, what is our incremental return on ad spend, which you're actually able, and that they must have been guessing, but it sounds like you are actually able to measure that.
We can show that with the most rigorous data science that exists today.
I was going to say before that, that's incredible that you guys can do that. Agilityads.com. That's a great URL. I'm just saying it again to help plug you guys. But you think about a channel like Meta, yes, it's more performance, but imagine performance marketing base. Imagine if someone saw a brand advertisement on Hulu and then also saw it on Facebook or saw it on Instagram or something like that. That to me builds continuity in a way and drives a connection while also building awareness, which now they are on Instagram and they could go to your profile or on Facebook. Now you're driving what could be a conversion because now they've seen you multiple times. That to me is really powerful, more powerful than just, hey, we're running a sale, we're running a promo, get a conversion, like get a customer maybe now for life because you built that connection. It's almost like slowly dating someone, right? Getting to know them, becoming their friend instead of just, the quick hit. We'll call it on the conversion side. Like you're actually building a long time partnership. I don't know many. I haven't also researched this, but I don't know many marriages that are like, man, we just hooked up one night and then we were married and it was the best marriage ever. Like you get to know someone a little bit over time, but that to me is way more worth it.
It is. That is how people actually buy. You actually buy over a long period of time courting a brand. For the most part, some products, sure, that can be different. Recently I bought some like a creatine supplement because I was reading about how it does cool things to your brain, like get mental clarity.
Dude,
and
it's insane.
Also,
how much more popular that's gotten, and creatine's been around for a long, long, long time.
Yeah, when I was in high school, creatine was for the meatheads. And I tried it once, and I was super excited. I thought I was going to get jacked, and then
you're like, oh, I have to work out too.
I have to. Oh yeah, I gotta lift.
I gotta lift weights. Damn it, and eat more food.
So yeah, now that I'm getting older, I'm like, I could use some additional mental clarity. Let's give it a shot. But thinking about that was, I saw different things about that over a 6 month time
Yeah.
period. And most companies are limiting their window for the window that they allow themselves to win a customer to like 7 days, 30 at the most.
Yeah.
And for a lot of products, it's more like 6 months. For some products, it's a
That's
year.
a lifestyle
And
change too. Like adding a supplement like creatine, you know, not again, not you're like if you're a normal, I think consumer, you want to do a little bit of research to make sure you're making the right choice.
yeah, exactly. I tried to go on Amazon and buy it, and I was overwhelmed with the options and
Yeah.
went, some of these, like some of the reviews I'm reading are saying that the ingredients here aren't real. And then there's like what, there's some like, oh, this was sourced from China and something about the quality, wasn't there. So
What is
I
creatine
didn't buy.
HCl versus or HCI versus creatine monohydrate? Is there
Right.
efficacy in a gummy versus just a regular powder? Do I need this flavor? Do I need single serve? Like it is a little bit overwhelming.
Yeah, you've shopped for it, I can tell.
I use
Um,
I do
yeah.
use creatine. I did not even know about the cognitive benefits until I had been using it. I've gone like back and forth, but like I don't take a ton of supplements other than like fish oil and a good multivitamin. I take some extra iron because sometimes I can get anemic, and then magnesium and creatine and like protein I consider to be a supplement. But like I'm not taking a bunch of things because at some point maybe I don't take a pre-workout or I don't take all these other things. Like there are other natural things that I can do to recover, but like creatine is like an easy one that does help. I can't say I've noticed a like cognitive benefit. I've already got like a lot of like good veins, like I can donate blood really well, but like I do feel like it's increased vascularity like crazy. Like sometimes my veins will pop and I'm like, I should just put a needle in right now and draw blood from myself and then go to Hawksworth and give it to them. But a lot of
Yeah,
people are taking it for the cognitive benefits. And people are targeting
there's
women
yeah.
now. Like it's not just a meathead thing anymore.
Right. Yeah, totally. In fact, I got made fun of it. One of our investors was like, "You're taking Crete," because he was still thinking of it as like meathead. Tried to make fun of me, and then I was like, go look at it, man. It's the scientific world has said it's different."
Yeah. And then did he apologize to you or no, he didn't?
Very sincerely, we hugged it out. Tears were shed. Yeah,
It was an incredible experience. And now I'm
it's
renewing my
incredible.
vows and he's going to be my best man for
Yeah,
my vow renewal.
that's right. Yeah, we got there. But yeah, it's, I mean, the shopping journey, it's crazy. Intuitively, we know how people buy. Because it's how we buy, but the technology didn't enable it. So it's a pretty exciting time. The injection of you know channels merging and being able to measure incrementality. Actually, one of the coolest things is that you can actually project. You can measure pipeline value created and project future revenue from brand advertising.
Wow, that's
Yeah,
insane.
yeah. So you can go to a CFO and say, "Hey, this $500,000 that we spent on brand advertising is projected to create this much revenue over the next 6 months,"
With how
which
much
wasn't possible before.
accuracy you're doing that with agility? Is that what you're saying?
Uh-huh. Yeah.
And how much accuracy do you have with those projections?
It's pretty accurate. I mean, we released that product in August, so it hasn't been long enough yet for us to say like, oh, we're accurate within a 5%,
But honestly,
but it's
15,
working.
20% would be incredible.
Yeah. Yeah.
Hey, would you like to
I
make
would be
$800,000 or 600,000? Both.
Yeah, both.
Either
But the
one.
big problem was this: when you're going to if let's say you're the head of digital and you're going to the CMO and the CMO is going to the CFO or the board, trying to secure these budgets, you just couldn't give any concrete
Yeah.
data to justify like, hey, we need to keep up this spend. Because the problem with brand advertising is if you stop, the benefits continue for a little while. It's that anecdote that we talked about when a CMO gets in and they cut spend and
Yep.
everything looks more efficient for a while. Everyone's excited. It's like, oh, our new CMO is so talented. But the
All he
reality
did was
is,
this, or she did was this.
y-
Turn the faucet
yeah,
off.
right.
Look
And
at how
she'll
much
enjoy
less we're
two.
wasting.
Yeah,
We're
we're so
thirsty though.
efficient.
We need water. Now, please turn the
Yeah,
faucet back on.
right. So anyway, so it projects the future value, but if you cut spend, there's some lagging effects. It'll keep going up, meaning that the return for that ad spend will keep growing, and then it'll drop. So it's we actually see companies doing that all the time where they're like, they have their old habits. And so they'll be like, seems to be working. And then something will happen in their business and they're like, take money from brand because, old habits. They'll take money from brand. They'll like, see, it's still going. So we would have closed that revenue anyway, right? That's always the fear is like, well, did we actually need the brand? We probably would have gotten those sales anyway. Thankfully, you can prove that now, but with the randomized control trials. Anyway, CFOs now can look at it and say, okay, I've got forward-looking data that actually helps me cash plan in a way that allows me to justify the marketing team using performance and brand together.
You talked about how your company is 7 years old and what you guys believed in. I've always said that regardless of what your religion or faith is, I think there are a lot of parallels between faith in God and being an entrepreneur. But regardless of what you believe in that, you have to have an extreme amount of faith in what you're doing to believe in that, to keep going. But you were playing the long game, which is essentially what you're helping brands do now, right? Is, hey, don't just focus on the short, quick conversion, the quick hit, but build in new business, create new business. You could have gone and just created another performance marketing agency or something that measured performance marketing even more efficiently. But instead, you are building a new audience with what you were doing. Like, can you just give us a little insight into like that journey of 7 years ago to now and what that looks like?
Yeah, so it's pretty interesting. So 7 years ago, the company started as basically a display retargeting agency, and I didn't start it. So about 4 years in, I'm a technology entrepreneur, SaaS entrepreneur. So I came in, bought that agency from the original founders. It was a perfect launch pad for the vision that my partners and I had, which was what we've been talking about today: merging channels, layering in AI. Well, we didn't have the AI vision yet, layering in the measurement. And then in the last 2 years, we've layered in AI. The journey has been one of keep the team together and don't run out of cash, because there's a huge opportunity here. And it has, like, to what you're saying, I've had to ask for faith essentially from the team so many times
Yeah, sure.
to say, hey, because again, a lot of these innovations have only come to market in August, and some of them are the first in the world.
That's insane.
So it's and we've, some people have left along the way and said, like, I don't think this is ever going to happen. Like, cool vision, but it's too difficult. So yeah, it's been really hard. But that's kind of the game in technology entrepreneurship. You have to stay committed and march with pace and urgency long enough without running out of cash, and keep enough people believing, including your investors, that you can to come revenue results. Right? The market starts to prove to you that you have product market fit because they're buying at a really efficient rate. Close rates go up. You start retaining almost all your clients. That kind of thing.
If we have not, I mean, kudos to you guys for just staying in it. If we as humans have not learned by now that there will never be anything new if we don't try to make and do new things and have faith that those new things will come to fruition, we will just be doing the same shit over and over and over and over again. How many times have we also heard? So, like, if we don't learn that by now, maybe we never will. But how many times have we heard stories about people laughed in his face, 20 banks said no, this person said no, blah, 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 blah. And it's like, you have to be so determined and believe in what you're doing that you're willing to risk it all for that vision to come to fruition. And then everyone ends up getting to benefit from it. Like, my wife and daughter and I are huge Disney World fans, so we go there a lot.
Yeah.
Like, just the vision that Walt had in what he was doing, the amount of times he had to reinvent himself. If he had given up after 1 or 2 or 5 failures, or people were like, why are you making an animated movie, a full-length feature? That's so stupid. Like, the amount of criticism that you have to face and push past, and I like how you said to march with pace and urgency until you see the results start to come. I think you just keep getting the same things over and over. We never experience anything new opportunities, new revenue streams, new experiences for our family. Like, you don't do that. You just get the same thing over and over again.
Yeah, man, you're speaking my language. Somebody a long time ago, I had a mentor. Her name was Linda. She believed in me. This is about 15 years ago now. She believed in me like nobody else ever had, and she gave me a vision of myself, of what was possible with enough persistence, that she helped me believe that I could do things that these other entrepreneurs have done. And what's interesting is once I got that self-belief, the next lesson that I learned was, oh man, it has nothing to do with me. It has everything to do with the incredibly talented people around me. Those are the people that are making it happen, solving the incredibly difficult problems, right? We have a brilliant head of data science, a brilliant head of product, brilliant head of sort of our client services, like all these incredible, our creative team's amazing, our engineers are amazing. Like we've just worked so hard to get incredible people. And that is the sole reason why we've been able to have some really, really powerful breakthroughs.
Everybody needs a Linda, sounds like, which is
Yeah.
incredible to have that gets you to believe in yourself enough to know that you also can't do it alone. So it helps breed some humility in you to then get the right team around you to do that. Not enough to only believe in yourself, because I think that's a place for failure to abound. But if you then surround yourself with the right people, there's a humility there that breeds results or success.
Yeah. And frankly, just getting into the tactics of it, just being generous with equity. People need to have meaningful ownership. They need to, if there's a win, if you're building towards a win and there's a lot of sacrifice involved, that win has got to be real. So that's something I believe in personally, especially in a startup environment where you're not, there's not as high of salaries to be given out because you're reinvesting in the company and trying to grow, and you're sacrificing some cash along the way for potentially a greater stock value down the road. So there are some things like that matter a lot. But man, it's we're in the thick of it right now, years and years away from an exit. But it's really exciting to have finally gotten this product to market and seeing companies absolutely crushing it with it.
It's amazing. It sounds like Linda might have been a C.S. Lewis fan, which he is famously quoted talking about humility. I don't know why this is something that's on my mind right now, but he just said humility is not thinking less of yourself, it's thinking of yourself less. So you believe in what your capabilities of doing, but it's also being there to serve the team and be around you. And it sounds like that's served you really well.
We'll see. We'll see.
At least up until this point. Dude, you've been great. The story is amazing, and what you're doing with agility, honestly, it sounds incredible. So I can't wait for people to experience that. Matt, if people want to know more about what you're doing, where can they find you?
Yeah.
At the gym, snorting creatine because you're now ready to get jacked, and you want to be clear-headed, or where can they find you?
Yeah. Hit me up at the gym. No, just kidding. Never interrupt my workout.
Do not talk to me.
No, that's not at all. Please interrupt. AgilityAds.com is a great place. LinkedIn, obviously, if you just want to send a direct message, that's all. I actually do check those. Literally have to have somebody help me like sort through all that. LinkedIn's crazy now.
Yeah.
But yeah, message me on LinkedIn or through our website, AgilityAds.com.
Love it. Thanks for coming on. That's all we got for you today, people. So you don't got to go home, but I don't know what you got to do, but we just don't have anything else. So that's it. We'll talk to you next time.
Yeah.
Cheers. And if this episode hit close to home because we talked about something like Amazon that feels complex or fragmented, this is exactly what we do at Cartology. I'm Michael Marr. I own Cartology. We are a full-service Amazon agency. We take extreme ownership in the work that we do. We get results, and we have a holistic end-to-end service that not just gives you strategy, but we also handle the execution and everything in between. If you want a partner who's actually accountable for outcomes and that you will love working with and trust, find our information in the show notes. We'd love to talk with you. Thanks again for spending your time here. I'm Michael Marr, and we'll see you on the next episode of The Longer Game.